Hi guys, Anastasia here. Thank you for checking out my channel. Please subscribe and hit the like button. I'm making videos about astrology, and today I'm here to break down the events of the week of April 18th based on your rising sign. A lot of things are happening this week. We're beginning Taurus season. Mars is moving into Cancer. Venus is going to conjoin Uranus and square Saturn. If you'd like to know what it means for your rising sign and what you can expect, stick around. There are timestamps in the description below if you'd like to jump ahead. And I also do chart readings if you ever want to know what any of the events mean for you or what your natal chart means. I'm here and the link is down there as well. So we're going to start with Aries rising. Taurus is your second house, so the Sun, Venus is already there. Sun and Mercury are going into your second house. Money, resources, maybe new sources of income. Sun comes into this house and it warms up the area. It's showing you new ways of doing things, new ways of making things. You might be feeling restless to try something new. You might be looking for a promotion. You might be expecting some changes in your resources. Maybe you're looking to spend money on something. Maybe you're looking to invest into your dental insurance or something. So now might be the time to reorganize your money, kind of plan for the, rainy day, maybe shift things around, but make sure you're not overspending. Make sure you're not kind of walking outside your means. Stay true to the schedule, to the things you have. So on April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, in your second house will conjoin Uranus, and then it will square Saturn. So Venus-Uranus may mean some disruptions in your finances. So maybe you have to spend money suddenly. Maybe, you need to pay for something. It could be somehow connected to your friendships. Maybe your resources are going towards your friendships. It could be connected to your networks, like maybe, you're spending on hanging out with your colleagues, or you're investing into a group project. Or maybe second house is connected to your values. Maybe there's a big change in your values connected to your friendships. Maybe you feel like this is not, worth it for me anymore, and this is not valuable for me anymore, and you may feel impulsive to kind of break free. But don't rush into anything, because Saturn comes in, and Saturn will make you look at all the commitments and all the connections you have with your friends, and all the connections you have with other people, and the responsibilities and duties that you have. So as much as you might be ready for a change, you're not necessarily as free. Or, freedom is an interesting term, but we also exist within a structure. We exist within friendships. We connect with other people, so we need to respect them, and we need to respect things that we owe to another person. So you may be taking a serious look at your friendships and perhaps reevaluating your friendships. On April 23rd, Mars moves into Cancer, which is your your fourth house. So fourth house is connected to home and family and children and land. Not so much children. Children is the fifth house, but definitely home, family, parents, issues of safety, security. So Mars in Cancer is fallen, and it's not always the strongest placement for Mars. So watch out for being passive aggressive. Watch out for conflicts with family. You may use this energy positively as far as, maybe doing some work around the home, because Cancer is the sign ruled by the moon, and it's a very familial sign. So in doing any home improvements, working in the garden could be quite beneficial for you. On the negative, if there's any tensions kind of brewing in your home, or any tensions with your parents, you may try to avoid them. So make sure to avoid that passive aggressiveness or conflict avoidance, and express it in a healthy way. Don't let it, kind of gather and then burst out. And, watch out for things happening at home. The very, I think, literal manifestation could be like a pipe bursting at home, or something happening that you need to address, and use this energy instead to initiate change, initiate improvements in the home. If you are a Taurus rising, Sun is entering your first house together with Mercury, and first house is self. First house is what you look like, how you come across to other people. It's your behavior, so you may be drawn to reassess, you may be drawn to reevaluate, maybe make changes in your appearance. It's also the house connected to health, so any bad habits you have, maybe the time to, look at them carefully and kind of break away from those habits. You may feel a stronger desire to express yourself, to go after things you want, to be more independent, to be more free. And you will most likely, with the sun there kind of like lighting up and giving you more energy, you will likely feel more confident and more self-assertive. So around April 22nd and into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus, creating a desire for rebellion and your identity, creating a desire to be more free, more authentic, less controlled, less, kind of cornered. Maybe there's a creative project that's bursting out. Maybe there's a desire for change that you're kind of ready for. It's Taurus. Maybe you're looking to experiment in your romantic life. Maybe you're looking to come across as more honest version of yourself, like dress more provocatively or, show up in a whole other way. But then that gets checked by Saturn around April 25th, 26th, so the end of the week. And Saturn is in your house of career. So there are certain restrictions, there are certain limitations in your behavior, duties that you have where you cannot fully express yourself. So take care and make sure not to limit that impulse to be unique and different and authentic, but also make sure to not completely reject all the things that you are responsible for. Just try to prioritize yourself, try to come up with a way to maybe be authentically you, and don't always rely on other people to validate you. Make sure you're finding ways to validate yourself. Mars moves into your third house of Cancer, your third house, on April 23rd. So third house is our siblings, it's communication, it's transportation, your local environment, local neighborhood, your community. So there might be a little bit of tensions brewing there. There might be, your schedule might kind of go through phases where it's more active and then it's slower. Maybe your communication gets affected, your mind, Mars in Cancer is a lot more subjective, a lot more personal. So we err on the side of being passive aggressive sometimes and not expressing ourselves honestly. So watch out for being more sensitive, watch out for sudden outbursts, try to learn from them, right? If you are feeling combative or if you're feeling conflicted, if you feel like you can't quite express yourself, maybe try to go within, try to work on self-understanding and maybe journal and not kind of express that bubbling energy towards another person. On the positive, you can always use the times when you feel more energetic with Mars being in your third house to start projects with a sibling or start projects that are connected to writing, maybe starting a blog, maybe taking a class, maybe working in your local community, kind of hanging out with friends, going out, staying safe, obviously, could be really good. Just watch out for the emotional turbulence that comes with this transit. If you are a Gemini rising, Taurus is your 12th house. So Sun is entering your 12th house. That's the area of subconscious mind, self-undoing, hidden enemies, spirituality, not all bad. So you may feel more introspective during Taurus season. You may feel a pull to spend more time alone. You may be looking at your past. This might be a good time to, revisit the past, see what was challenging. Maybe there's any fears. Maybe there's any self-undoing, self-limiting beliefs that you're carrying. Your powers of kind of intuition and powers of connecting to your subconscious will be a lot stronger, and you may find answers within subconscious. So perhaps journal, meditate, spend some time alone, and try to find answers, try to let go of some things. There's always, my teacher once called 12th house as the house of emotional garbage. As someone who has 3 planets in there, I don't always view it as just that, but there's a lot of cleaning, you know, like a lot of subconscious cleaning that can be done there. Around April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus in your 12th house of subconsciousness will square Saturn, but first it will conjoin Uranus. So Venus, Uranus, and square to Saturn around like the end of this week, there might be some kind of belief that you have that is no longer serving you, or maybe you are getting involved with fights, like you are fighting with people about your views and their beliefs you think are wrong and your beliefs you think are right. Because you are going through this psychological interchange, you may be too kind of like, you know, focused on letting go, absolving, forgetting something, releasing something, and maybe you're just like too kind of stuck in your views, and you're too stubborn to see the other person's perspective. So make sure you are not, you know, cursing people out or not being too stuck, and make sure you're open to hearing other people's perspectives. And even if you don't agree, try to approach the period with introspection, with quiet reflection, and don't burn bridges. I'm just gonna get some water. On April 23rd, Mars is going to move into Cancer, which is your 2nd house. And 2nd house deals with our values, our finances, and our things, like things that we have. So Mars in Cancer is a little bit troubled because it's fallen, it's too emotional, you know, you can be more passive aggressive, your energy levels are not always consistent because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and so your drive and ambition becomes connected to the moon. So there might be ups and downs financially. There might be more conflicts connected to your money. You know, on the positive, like you may feel very competitive. Maybe you feel competitive and you discover a new way to make money, and then you just go for it and you find exciting ways to make money. But on the negative, because you feel insecure a little bit, you may get into fights with people, you may get into conflicts, maybe even conflicts with family members around the topics of money. So try to be mindful, you know, look at your spending habits, look at the ways you make money, look at your attention and your core values around money. Maybe there is a time for reinvention, and ride the wave, right? Like when you have a lot of energy, go for things and try to make money and be active and aggressive and proactive, but don't hurt other people, and know that there are times in the month where you will feel introspective and quiet and maybe low on energy and maybe more sensitive, and maybe that's the time to just chill and, you know, not be too aggressive. If you are Cancer rising, then Taurus is your 11th house. And so Sun going into your 11th house makes you a lot more social. So complete 180 from Gemini rising just now. You are a lot more social. You enjoy spending time with your friends, with your networks. Maybe you are building your networks. Maybe there is time to, with Venus conjoining Uranus around April 22nd, maybe there's time to join new groups. Maybe you're feeling like ready to break free from old friendships and explore new connections and new friendships. This might be the time when you get involved with the community more, or you try to reconsider your role in it and your plans, because 11th house is also traditionally a house of hopes and dreams. You might be a lot more focused on your future and your goals and like your place in the world, and where do you want to go? Where would you see yourself? So April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus is conjoining Uranus in that same house of friends, networks, connections. And you may feel rebellious. You may kind of maybe want to break away from some people in your life. You know, most likely it's kind of like friendship dynamics, but it could also be more familial dynamics. Maybe something is no longer working and you feel like impulsive to say goodbye to certain connections and explore new ones. Maybe you want to join a group that's more creative, more artistic. Say you you got interested in astrology, and now you're like not, respectful of your friends who don't believe in astrology. Of course, how can they not believe in astrology? But everyone is entitled to their opinion. So don't rush to cut and tear things up, because that the same week, a little bit later, Venus is going to square Saturn in your 8th house, and 8th is all about energies we share with other people and responsibilities and duties we have to other people. So as much as you want to break free, maybe you want to maybe you feel tired of a friend, but you cannot quite say goodbye because this friend is your hairdresser and you cannot find another hairdresser. So, make sure to find ways to explore freedom in relationships, but don't cut things off quickly. Try to find positive connections. Try to see, because exchanges we have with other people, very rarely one-sided. A lot of times we get something out of it, they get something out of it. So try to find something positive and see the positive side to your interactions with people. On April 23rd, Mars moves into Cancer, which is your 1st house. It is not the happiest place for Mars because Mars is in fall in Cancer. But at the same time, Cancer, being your 1st house, can bring more energy in your life. So, your energy levels will not be consistent for sure, because Cancer is the sign ruled by the moon, and moon goes through flows. It goes through fluxes. It's full and then it's waning and then it's new moon. It has no light. So that you might feel the same happening until June 11th, when Mars leaves Cancer and goes into Leo. You may feel yourself going through these ups and downs. You may struggle with being direct. You may struggle with being assertive. But, if you avoid passive-aggressive behavior, if you avoid emotional turbulence and emotional turmoil, you can actually perhaps use that energy to maybe invest into things close to you, because Cancer, emotions, spend time with your children, spend time working on your appearance, taking a class, exercising. 1st house is our body, so you can use that energy to take swimming lessons and maybe exercise and get yourself together. Get yourself on track as far as health concerned. Just make sure to not push yourself too much when you go through that, the down period and there isn't much energy. If you are a Leo rising, Taurus is your 10th house. So Sun comes into the 10th house for you, and it shines light on the topics of career. Sun is never harsh. Sun warms up the area and brings your attention to some things that can get fixed. So where are you not satisfied with your job? What can you improve? How can you take on more or take on less to find your true expression, to be more honest and more, New York sounds, more authentic and more true to yourself? You may find your attention being brought to your life goals and your path, and looking at the things that make you happy and are you pursuing them. So questions like that, seeking recognition, maybe getting recognition, might be on your mind. Around April 22nd into April 26th, the end of this week, Venus will conjoin Uranus, and then later will square Saturn in your 7th house of relationships. So there might be a conflict between your professional goals and your higher aspirations and the duties you have to your loved ones. Venus, Uranus in the 10th house of career means that you are ready for a change. You're ready to break free. You know, maybe you're tired of a job and you want to say goodbye and you want to, like, you know, forget about it, forget it ever existed because your connection to your boss is terrible. But you have duties to people in your 7th house. You have responsibilities to your spouse. So you're not quite able to make these quick jumps. And I would actually like watch out for making these, you know, cutting movements and dramatic decisions, because Saturn is still there. Saturn is still asking you to be responsible and to be kind of an adult about it. So listen to whatever comes up. If you're feeling frustrated in your career, you like listen to it, you know, try to figure it out and take notice, and maybe look into the future and be like, how can I make a change without drastic movement, and how can I make a change while being more mature and more careful with things. Mars moves into Cancer on April 23rd. This is your 12th house. Cancer for Mars is not the happiest place because Cancer is very emotional. It's very subjective sign, so our judgment gets a little bit tinted. We don't kind of like approach things in a straightforward way. We may go after things, you know, kind of like sideways, like the crab, connected to the sign of Cancer. So when you have Mars going through your 12th house, there might be, as for everyone, there might be shifting energy levels. There might be, 12th house is also the house of hidden enemies. So you might be dealing with people working against you. Maybe there is some undermining influences. Maybe you are working against you. Maybe you're being too critical of yourself. Maybe there are some core beliefs that no longer serve you and you need to revisit those. So watch out for that. Know that you may feel less driven at this period of time because it's, you know, Mars in the 12th is not making an aspect to your ascendant, so you almost don't see that active energy. So maybe, you know, allow alone time. Going on hikes, meditation could be quite good. Going for a swim could be nice. And know that you may have a tendency to have these emotional outbursts coming out of nowhere that might be like triggered by some past memory or fear you have, and it's not that person, it's more something internally that gets activated within you. So avoid being passive aggressive, avoid exploding on other people, and just be careful until June 11th. That's how long this transit lasts. If you are a Virgo rising, Taurus is your 9th house, so Sun is entering your 9th house, highlighting the area of your views and beliefs and your core values and education and travel. So you might, Sun is that, you know, nice kind of light energy. So you might find yourself seeking to explore either through education or travel. Maybe you feel like ready to go and, you know, explore and travel somewhere, or even just venture outside of your home. You may feel more outspoken. You may get into more debates about things that you believe in. So that could be philosophy, that could be religion, education, or just overall life philosophies. On April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in your 9th house, creating a desire to kind of break away from old views. Maybe your mind is ready for a change. Maybe you are ready to take a class that's, you know, unorthodox. Maybe you want to study astrology. Maybe you are ready to study like tarot or anything like that. Maybe you are getting into fights with your teachers. Maybe you no longer, maybe you feel like, you know, you don't quite agree or connect with what they're saying and you are ready for a change. There could be issues happening around, because right around that same time, right, April 25th, April 26th is when Venus will square Saturn in your 6th house of work and day-to-day life and kind of structures and the foundation of the foundation of your life. So there might be conflicts between you and your colleagues. Maybe there's some structural changes, some differences of beliefs that you have and your colleagues have. Are you on the same page with people? Are you disagreeing with them, but are you being really careful and expressing it? Maybe something about your job no longer satisfies you. Maybe you have kind of quite like really literally different views about doing things. You know, you feel like you need to work until 5 and your boss keeps sending you emails until like 11 at night. How are you handling it? Like making sure you are true to yourself, you express your views, but you also understand that you have responsibilities and you have duties to other people. You may also feel a pull to take a vacation and just be like, whatever, I don't care about this anymore. But once again, make sure you're not cutting things off and you don't rush to kind of like, you know, say no to responsibilities because, you know, as grown-ups, we need to balance the two. On April 23rd, Mars moves into the sign of Cancer. This is your 11th house of friendships, of networks, of hopes and dreams and aspirations. This is a longer period. Mars will be in Cancer until June 11th. So your friendships, your networks will be affected. You may feel more active, like maybe you're fighting for the rights of your friends. Maybe you're stepping up in the position of, you know, like a leader. You're someone who's pioneering a project amongst your friends. Maybe you are someone who's uniting people to fight for something, either in professional realm or maybe in some kind of societal change, you know, like participating in a group that maybe in your college is trying to like, I don't know, protect library from closing, something like that. But on the negative, right? Like on the negative, you may be extra sensitive to what other people are saying. There might be conflicts within your friendships. There might be challenges in expressing oneself. There might be passive aggressiveness, desire to keep peace for the sake of peace, and issues speaking your mind. So avoid that. Instead, lean into fighting for the rights of other people and supporting a cause that you feel passionate about. If you are a Libra rising, my sign, then Taurus is your 8th house. So when Sun comes into your 8th house, this is the house of karmic debts and all entanglements we have with other people. Debts, taxes, intimacy, connections you have with other people, collaborations. Anytime you put your money together, anytime you put your bodies together, sex is also in the 8th house. All of those topics will get highlighted. Might be the time to, you know, someone might ask you to lend them money, or your loan might come through, or you may get return on investment, you may get your tax return. I know a couple of Libra risings who invented into cryptocurrency, and they actually just made a ton of money as Venus has entered their 8th house. So, you know, positive definitely could mean some financial influx. It could also be a good time for healing, for trying therapy, for letting go of things, and for increased intimacy, with Venus being there, you know, kind of heightened sexuality, increased intimacy. So on April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in your 8th house. So you may feel like some old patterns are restrictive. You may feel like some connections and dependencies you have on other people are frustrating. Like if you have a debt to someone, you may be pulled to pay it off, get rid of it. You know, someone is frustrating you, you may be pulled to just tell them to like never ever talk to you again. If you're having any difficulties with like familial relationships, once again kind of feels, you know, like maybe connected to money, but not always. You may just feel that desire to like rebel and get rid of this. But, you know, chances are Saturn in your 5th house, the square from Saturn to this Venus-Uranus rebellious energy is going to come in. And maybe there's some responsibilities you have to your children that don't allow you to kind of, you know, like let go of some old connections. Maybe maybe there's some positive that also exists in your relationships with other people. Maybe it's not for your good, because Saturn in the 5th house is all year this year making you ask what feeds you, what makes you happy, what satisfies you. So that square between the two can make you revisit the dynamics you have in your life, the way you deal with money, the way you deal with intimacy. Do you speak up about issues, or do you let them kind of, build up and then you just cut it off? So you may learn to be more honest. You may learn to find ways to collaborate with people and work with people versus going at it alone. On April 23rd, Mars goes into Cancer, your 10th house, and it will stay in Cancer until June 11th. And Cancer is a tricky, relatively tricky placement for Mars, because it's the sign ruled by the moon, and moon is emotional, right? So there might be some emotional difficulties showing up in your sector of career. Maybe you need to work on something, but there is familial issues. Maybe there is, personal issues that are occupying your mind. So that could be quite challenging, I would say. Your energy levels, as far as going after things, will not be consistent. So pay attention to when you feel more upbeat. Perhaps initiate things then, but when you feel more tired or overwhelmed with personal things, take a break. On the positive, you might see more action in the field of career. You may, whenever you feel productive, you may achieve a lot more, and finding ways to add things in your life, in your professional life, that you're passionate about will be quite good for you. So working on things that you emotionally resonate with, finding ways to fight for the rights of other people, help and benefit other people, could be a good way to deal with the challenging Mars and Cancer energy. If you are a Scorpio rising, Taurus is your 7th house, so Venus is already here. Sun and Mercury enter on the 19th. So Sun being in your 7th house, when I started this, when I talked about Taurus rising, for Taurus rising, it's all about them and kind of how can they be more authentic? How can they be more true to themselves? For you Scorpio risings, it's all about your relationships. A lot of attention is brought to your partnerships, to collaborations with people, working with others, committing to others. Even your partner's life and what's happening in their life could be highlighted, could be extra important for you right now. Around April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in your 7th house of relationships. So this is quite literally, something is no longer working in a relationship. Maybe there's a need to break free. Maybe there's a need for more independence. Maybe there's a need to experiment romantically. Desire to innovate. If you are in a relationship, this may come from your partner. Maybe your partner is feeling restless and maybe they're coming up with new ideas to break free. Maybe there's a change happening in your partner's finances. That's a possibility too. That is at the same time gets connected to Saturn in the 4th house of home and family, land, real estate, the house you live in. So your desire to rebel and maybe go on a trip to Hawaii gets checked by Saturn in the 4th house. What duties do you have? What kind of commitments do you have? Chances are you're not going to be able to be fully free, but it's also not a reason to completely push away those intentions and those desires for freedom and new things in relationships. So trying to be flexible, but make sure you're not rejecting mature lifestyle and not rejecting your responsibilities. On April 23rd, Mars moves into your 9th house and in the sign of Cancer. 9th house is our beliefs, it's our philosophies, it's our ideas. So when you have Mars in there, you will be more likely to get into fights with people about your convictions. convictions. So it might be easier for you to get like emotionally attached to the things you're defending. You may feel, you know, maybe at times more passive aggressive, maybe more rejecting of people. Watch out for conflicts within family. Maybe there is a difference of opinion with family, or even friendships or colleagues, anything like that. Try to be more understanding of the differences of opinion, even if it seems to you like these people are completely delusional and are defending something that they shouldn't be defending. Mars in the 9th house can also spur your desire to travel or learn something. So going somewhere where like water is involved. Cancer is a water sign, you know, taking a trip to a lake or an ocean, spending time by the sea, playing games with family could be quite good for releasing some of that tense energy. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Taurus is your 6th house. And so the sun being in your 6th house, Venus is there, Mercury is there. A lot of energy is brought to your kind of mundane life almost, and your work. So your relationships with colleagues may be more highlighted for the upcoming month. Desire to serve others, desire to work on projects that require a lot of paperwork can be a theme this year, this month. Maybe the attention is brought to your pets. Maybe you need to take care of an animal that you own. Maybe you need to like take care of their health, or even your personal health. Maybe sun being in the 6th house right now is highlighting your desire to go to a doctor or start eating healthier, start exercising, anything like that. April 22nd going into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin your Uranus. Not your Uranus. Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in the skies, the transit Uranus, creating a desire to break free from the existing things. Maybe your routine is too tiring. Maybe you're taking on too much. Maybe you feel frustrated with your working conditions. You know, you may be even frustrated with your colleagues. Maybe you think that they are too close-minded and you're too tired of dealing with them, or maybe someone is not doing their job correctly and you feel like something needs to be changed in your daily life. And once again, this could be affecting your health. Maybe you just feel like you're taking too much and you're too stressed and you need to like kind of cut some things off. It does get right away squared by Venus-Uranus together, gets squared by Saturn. So your responsibilities come into play, your duties to your siblings, your duties to your community, to your neighbors. There are some things, or even the fact, like, you know, 6th house being the working conditions. Maybe you feel like your computer is no longer right. Like maybe you feel like you need to get a new desk or like innovate your office. Modify your office. But then the 3rd house is like technology, and maybe you need more money and you cannot buy a new computer yet. So there could just be some kind of like limitations coming from your immediate environment, or your neighbors, right? Or your schedule. Maybe you just aren't able at this point to let go of some things. But Saturn in the 3rd is also asking you to review your communication, how you express yourself, and maybe now is a good time to rethink your schedule, but without being drastic. Rethink the way you communicate, start asking for help a little bit more. There is a lot of action happening for you between your 1st and 7th houses, between the idea of self and other people, between old and new, especially with the eclipse season coming up in May. So try to be fluid and flexible and don't rush to sever connections you have with people. On April 23rd, Mars goes into Cancer, which is your 8th house. And so 8th house is karmic debts. It's all the things we share with others, including money, but it's also connected to energy exchanges, to collaborations of the minds. It's connected to intimacy and healing. And so Mars being in that area could bring death and rebirth could bring changes in your relationships. It could mean that you're more actively trying to pay off any debts that you have. It could mean you're looking for collaborations with people more actively. Maybe you just watch out. As always, Mars in Cancer is not the happiest place for Mars. Watch out for being passive aggressive. Watch out for shying away from deep conversations for the sake of keeping peace, and then maybe your feelings build up and they burst out of you. So try to have true conversations, try to explore intimacy, and be honest with people in your life. Be kind of, connect to that truth and emotional nature of Cancer, but don't be passive aggressive. Don't be manipulative, right? If you are a Capricorn rising, then Taurus is your 5th house, the area of romance, creativity, children, fun, and joy. This is quite lovely. Attention will be brought up to things that make you happy. So going to a gallery, listening to music, hanging out with friends, taking up painting, anything like that would be beautiful right now. Spending time with children, pursuing any creative things, being more playful, going on dates could serve you quite well at the moment. Around April 22nd into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in that 5th house of romance, creativity, and children. And then it's going to square Saturn in your 2nd house of values and finances. So there's a conflict. There's a desire in your 5th house to live authentically and have fun. And maybe, go to a concert. I mean, I don't think concerts are they're not a thing because of the pandemic, but maybe buy some equipment to become a singer. Like, you want to buy equipment to support your passion, but then Saturn in the 2nd, being all about money and values, it's kind of asking you to not rush and to be more mindful and to spend money more carefully. So don't listen to your desire to innovate and try new things and be more creative. Maybe it's connected to your children if you have kids. Maybe you want to send your child to the best kindergarten, but then Saturn in the 2nd house is saying that you also have bills to pay and you have mortgage. So try to find balance. Don't give up on the dreams you have, but make sure to not spend money recklessly. On April 23rd, Mars moves into your 7th house, moves into Cancer. So Mars in Cancer struggles sometimes with being straightforward. There could be a tendency to be manipulative or passive aggressive, and 7th is the area of significant relationships. So keep in mind, try to be honest with your partners, try to be honest with your relationships. You may feel that Mars coming from your partner. Maybe it's them who's struggling with being open and honest, and maybe they're being more passive aggressive. So try to invite honest and open conversations. Maybe doing things together with your partner using that martial energy could be a good solution. Mars in Cancer is in water. Cancer is a water sign, so pursuing activities that are close to water skiing if you have the ability, or maybe even doing anything Cancerian, like working in the garden, cooking together, trying to find ways to carefully navigate these waters of Cancer. If you are an Aquarius rising, Taurus is your 4th house. So Sun coming into Taurus highlights your areas of home and family. You may find yourself enjoying being at home a lot more, spending time with your family a lot more. Maybe there will be opportunities to improve your home and do something around the house, like, renovate, buy some new pillows, buy some new throws, doing something to make your space feel more comfortable and secure. Talking to family members might be figuring in your life more prominently. Healing around childhood issues can come into play. Around April 22nd, going into April 26th, Venus is going to conjoin Uranus in your 4th house, and it's going to right after square Saturn in your 1st house of self. So this is very much, you know, you wanting to be your authentic self, and maybe you wanting to be free and do things you desire. Maybe break away from some family dynamics. Maybe you feel like something isn't healthy anymore. Something is no longer serving you anymore. Maybe you're ready to change and move and get out of the, you know, tough spot if you've been feeling like you've been in a tough spot. But then Saturn in the first, right now, you are really the responsible one. So in a lot of ways, you have these duties and obligations to other people. And you're getting asked the question, do you want to take more responsibility and, you know, kind of be responsible in that way? Or do you want to let some of it go? But maybe there are things that you cannot let go, because we all have really deep entanglements and connections with our family. So this is also a topic that runs throughout your entire year. Try not to be too dramatic and too quick and too impulsive, and try not to hurt people or cut things off that you might later regret, because the topic of this week is very much like, you know, you want to break free, but you need to work harder and you need to plan and structure before you can make that plunge. On April 23rd, Mars moves into Cancer, which is your sixth house. And sixth house is affecting your work life. So Mars in Cancer has the tendency sometimes to be passive aggressive, or your energy levels may fluctuate. You may feel more emotional, more frustrated. So things at work, if your colleagues are being slow or anything is annoying you, you may have a tendency to, you know, explode on people. So try to be careful with that. On the positive, Mars is in its joy in the sixth house. It really likes being in the sixth house. So you may use that energy to tackle any problems, any projects you may have. And just make sure that you are allowing time for rest, and you're allowing time to work on yourself, and you're not just focusing on all the duties. You also have time to relax and take care of your body. And last but not least, if you are a Pisces rising, Taurus is your third house. So third house has to do with communication and schedule and your neighborhood and your siblings. So there might be a lot of attention brought to your local community and your environment. Venus will conjoin Uranus on April 22nd, and you may feel restless. Maybe something in your, you know, right around you is not satisfying. Maybe some means of communication is no longer satisfying. Maybe you really want to be direct and you really want to speak about how you feel. Maybe you feel restless. You really want to get out there and, you know, start socializing and start talking to people. Maybe you want to start a blog. Maybe you have a plan to write something or take a class. But then Saturn currently being in your 12th house is making you revisit your fears or re-examine things that are slowing you down, and how much of it is self-inflicted and how much of it is connected to other people. Maybe you really need to deal with your past issues, right? Like if you're struggling with communicating openly and honestly, if you're struggling with connecting with a sibling, like what kind of past issue you haven't addressed? Like how can you better your relationships? On April 23rd, Mars moves into Cancer, which is your fifth house. Mars struggles in Cancer, as I mentioned before. Sometimes you may find yourself being impulsive romantically. You may feel being a little bit more dramatic romantically, maybe passive aggressive with people. With your children, watch out for snapping at kids. Watch out for snapping at romantic partners. Try not to be, obviously, you know, like if you're feeling sensitive, feel the feelings, but make sure you're not letting that energy affect your relationships with other people. On the positive, Mars in Cancer is always good for pursuing things that you're emotionally attached to. So maybe, well, romantically, this could be good too, because you can come up with fun ideas for the dates. It could make you get involved with a cause that is deeply personal to you and something you really, really enjoy, like, you know, protecting children, protecting mothers, fighting fights that are quite noble and quite personal and quite deep to your heart, close to your heart, will be a good way to deal with this transit. Just make sure you're not allowing the tension build without releasing it. So this is all I've got. It is a long video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.